So we'll start in our usual comfortable seated position. We'll find our sitting bones. We'll close our eyes. Bring those thoughts inward. Check in with how we are feeling today. Make sure that we are checking in with ourselves as we move through our practice so that we can give our body what we need. As we inhale, we'll bring in new energy and positivity. And as we exhale, we'll let go of expectations, of judgment, of competition. We'll seal our lips, inhaling and exhaling through our nose. And we'll lift those hands up to the sky, reaching with the fingers nice and high. We'll drop the shoulders away from our ears. Exhale, let's fold forward, bringing those hands out in front of us, lowering the chest down. Slowly, we'll walk those hands back, rolling our way up. Hands come up high. And exhale, we'll fold forward again. And helping ourselves back up. And moving that spine as we come up and down. Let's do that one more time. Exhale, folding forward. Reaching with the fingers. Relaxing the shoulders. And we'll drop the head round as we roll our way up. Hands come up to the sky. And then exhale, we'll just take them over to the right. We'll lower that right hand down to the ground. Left hand reaches up and over, and press that left hip down into our mats. As we open up the side body. And then inhale, we'll come back up. And exhale over to the left. And then inhale, we'll come up. And then exhale, let's twist to the right. Hands can come down. Lengthen on those inhales, twist on the exhales. And then coming back to the center, hands come up high, lengthen in the spine. And then exhale, we'll twist to the left. And then back up to the center. And then hands will just rest down onto our knees. Take a breath here. And we'll uncross those legs. We'll bring them out in front of us. Bring those feet out in front of us, a little bit wider than our hips. And we'll just do some little windshield wipers with our knees. So lengthen here. Hands can come back behind our shoulders or our butts. And then exhale, we'll just take those knees over to one side. And inhale, we'll bring them back up. And exhale down to the other side. Let's move gently with our breath, side to side. Get some movement going on in those hips. And we'll just do one more to each side. And we'll come back to the center. And we'll tuck this right foot out in front of us. And we'll bring the left foot back into deer pose. So we have little parallel lines with our thighs and with our shins. Hands will come out in front of us here. Take a breath or two. Let those hips kind of settle into the pose. And then when we're ready, we'll just begin to walk those hands out in front of us. We lower down, folding. We can go to our elbows, or we can fold all the way down, bringing those arms out in front of us even further. The beauty of all of this is that we have control. So we get to a point and we don't necessarily like it, we can always back off. Help ourselves back up, keeping our legs where they are, bringing our shoulders up above those hips again. And now we're just going to do a little tiny twist over to the left. It's going to feel a little weird with our legs where they are, but it's good for us, I'm sure. Good. And coming back to the center. Lengthen on that inhale, and now we'll go in the direction that we really feel like makes sense. Bringing those hands around to the right. They can just hang out here. Our left hip is going to want to come up. That's totally fine. Let it. Make a nice long line from that knee all the way up to the top of our head. And then as we breathe, we can lower ourselves down, walking those hands out in front of us to whatever point we feel the best. Hands can come down, elbows can come down. We can even bring our chest all the way down into this little twist. Do one more breath here. Inhale completely, and then exhale. Sink into that fold just a little bit more. And we'll help ourselves back up. And we'll come back all the way around to the front. Lengthen here on that inhale, and then exhale. Let's do another forward fold. Out the front, over this right shin. And then inhale, we'll come back up. And we'll bring our hands back behind us, and we'll go back the other way, lengthening in this left quad, pressing the left knee down into our mats. We can lower down to our elbows if we would like. If we don't like it, don't do it. We can come all the way down to our backs if we want. And inhale. Let's come on back up. Good. We'll swing those legs out in front of us. We can give ourselves a little wiggle or a shake if we want. And we'll find those sitting bones underneath of us again. Feet are out in front of us. Toes are pointing up to the sky. From here, let's just exhale a little fold toward those toes. One more inhale, we lengthen. Let's use that exhale, sink down a little bit lower. The very tail end of that exhale, let's drop the head around and we'll roll our way up. We'll bend those knees. We'll move over to deer pose on the other side. So we'll tuck this left foot out in front of us. The right foot will go back behind. We'll find those good parallel lines again with our thighs and our shins. And again, take a couple of breaths on this side. You may feel a little bit different than you did on the other, and that's okay. Most of us have a bit of an imbalance in our bodies, and that's okay. Hands will come out in front of us. And as we use those breaths, lengthen on the inhales like we do, and then exhale, we'll just creepy crawl those hands out in front of us. Find a fold. On that next inhale, let's walk our way back up. We'll do the little twist over to the right. And then come back to the center. And then we'll twist around to the left, bringing those hands right over here by the left hip and thigh. Again, this right hip might want to come up too. That's totally fine. And again, we can fold forward if we would like, down to our elbows, or all the way down. And let's stay here for one more inhale. And an exhale. And then when we come back up ever so slowly, we'll move around to the center. And then we'll do another fold here, straight forward. On our next inhale, we'll help ourselves back up. And we'll bring our focus over to that right leg again. Hands will come back behind us. Pull those shoulders back and begin to press this right knee into the mat as we lengthen in that thigh. Stay here for 2 more breaths. Big inhales, complete exhales. And then gently we'll help ourselves back up. We'll unwind those legs again. Give them a little wiggle or shake. And then those legs will come out in front of us, flexing the feet. Nice tall spine here as we bring those chests toward the toes. We'll connect the bellies to the thighs. Hands can come to the shins or to our feet and toes. One more inhale. Lengthen. Exhale. We'll sink a little tiny bit further. And at the very tail end, we'll just drop the head. We can round in the spine and we'll help ourselves all the way up. Cross those legs and we'll roll over onto our shins and into our tabletop. Fingers are wide, hands are underneath of our shoulders. Knees are hip width apart. Good. And then from here, let's lift up the right hand nice and high. And then exhale, threading the needle through all the way underneath that left arm. Shoulder and ear can come down to the mat. And now this left hand can stay where it is. It can come out long, and we can creepy crawl those fingers around to the right to help open up those shoulders. Or we can place that left hand on top of the right hand to encourage the shoulders to open up a little bit. Thinking about our hips, we want to bring them over the knees. And then we'll gently unwind. We'll come back to our tabletop. Let's do one cat here, rounding on that exhale, tucking the chin, lifting our spine up to the sky, and then inhale, little cow, dropping the tummy, lifting the heart, and then back to that neutral spine here. Good. Let's inhale the right hand out in front of us, and we'll press back that left foot. Good. And now let's reach back with that right hand. Try and find the toes or the ankles on the left side. Open up the shoulder. Lift the heart. And we'll gently release back to the reach and down to our tabletop. Very good. Let's lift up that left hand nice and high. And then threading the needle through, reaching underneath that right arm, lowering the shoulder and the ear down to our mat. Take a few breaths to find where we're at today on this side. And we'll unwind and find our tabletop again. And exhaling to a cat, rounding nice and high with that spine. And then inhaling cow. And back to our tabletop. We'll go to a spinal balance here, reaching out with the left hand, pressing back with the right foot, flexing the toes to point down toward the ground. Breathing into our belly. Feeling the support in our spine, all around in the torso, back. And then when we're ready, we'll reach back with that left hand. Try and find the right foot. And find that good dynamic tension between the hand and the foot. Do one more full breath cycle. And then we'll gently release that foot. Find our reach again. And back down to our tabletop. Beautiful job. Let's bring those hips back to our heels for child's pose. Arms can come out in front of us, lowering the chest down. And fingers are out in front of us, spreading nice and wide, pressing each one of them down into our mats. Inhale, let's come up to a little plank. And we'll take that right foot and bring it out in front of us for lizard pose. Low lunge, sinking the hips forward and down, lifting the heart. And now let's find our balance and inhale, bring the hands up high. Lifting the heart, lowering the hips. Hands can come straight out above us. We can clasp our hands together. Or if this is tough on our shoulders, we can always come to like a goal post or cactus arms. Good. And then let's lower that right arm just down to the thigh. We're going to reach back with that left hand, see if we can find that left foot. We're going to bring it in towards our butt. Still trying to point both hips in front of us. Our quads need love too. Good, and gently release. Both hands can find the floor into that lizard pose again. And then exhale, we'll just take that right leg back behind us. Find a child's pose for just a little bit here. Inhale up to our little plank. We'll exhale, lower down. Hands are underneath of our shoulders. As we inhale, we'll scoop the chest forward. and then up into a baby cobra. And press back all the way to our child's pose. When we're ready, we'll come up to our little plank again. And now left side, bring that foot out in front, just outside the pinky of our left hand. Wiggle our way into this lizard pose, into the lunge. Good. And then finding our balance, we'll lift ourselves up nice and high, crescent lunge. And then we can lower that left arm down to the thigh, and we'll reach back with this right hand to try and find that right foot. Bringing it in towards our butt. And then this right hip needs to come forward to point toward the top of our mat. I'm okay. And then we'll gently release that foot. We'll come back down to our lizard for a breath or two. And then we'll step back to our child's pose. And then inhale up, little plank. Exhale, we'll lower down. All the way down to our bellies, and we'll bring those elbows underneath of our shoulders. Press into our hands and into our forearms as, again, we scoop that chest forward and then lift it. Make sure that it's not all arms that's doing the work. We're using those back muscles to help as well. And exhale, we'll lower that chest down. We'll release those hands back underneath of our shoulders, and we'll press back into our child's pose. Good, let's switch those feet over to one side. We'll come back up to seated. Bring those legs out in front of us again. We'll roll up into our tiny little ball. And we'll rock back onto our backs. Find ourselves in our little egg here on our backs. And then we'll place those feet down onto our mats, just underneath of our butts. Lower the head and the shoulders down. Hands will come to our sides, palms up. Take a breath here. And we'll do a little bridge. So begin to tuck the tail and the hips will begin to lift, pressing into those feet, lifting the hips up nice and high. And then try and bring your knees back together. They'll want to flop out towards the outsides. And now starting at the top of our spine, just lowering one little vertebra down at a time until we get all the way down to our tail. Take a breath. And then again, tilting that pelvis, lifting the hips up nice and high. Now we're just going to take those hands, we're going to start to prop ourselves up, holding underneath of our back. So now we're in a supported bridge. If we're happy here, we stay here. If we would like, we can lift up a leg. Maybe we lift up the other leg. Or we lift up both legs. And we use those hands to support our back as we come up into an inversion, into a candlestick pose or shoulder stand. And now think of lifting that tailbone up to the sky. One more breath. We can do one more breath. And we can begin to bend the knees. We'll release the hands, we'll round and just curl our way back down to the mat. Take a breath. And let's bring those knees into our chest. We'll open up our knees nice and wide. Elbows go to the inside of our knees. Hands will come to the pinky toe side of our feet. We'll relax our shoulders and head into our mats for dead bug. And then we'll release the feet. We'll bring the soles together, and then we'll lower our feet down towards our mat. For reclined bound angle, knees will just fall to either side. Hands can come to our sides. Here we can close our eyes. And then slowly, we can even use our hands to bring those knees back together. We'll lift our feet up to the sky, reaching our hands up as well. We'll roll around in our ankles and in our wrists for Prakalasana. Point and flex, wiggling the fingers and the toes. Get rid of all the extraneous movement and tension that we may have left. And then exhale, let's lower our arms down above our head. Our legs come down below our hips. And when we get there down to the mats, we make ourselves as long as we possibly can, reaching and lengthening. And then one big last exhale. We'll just release everything to the mat. Find our comfortable posture that we would like to stay in for a few minutes for our Shavasana. We close our eyes. We find our stillness. And begin to deepen our breath. We'll wiggle our fingers and our toes. And slowly bring awareness back into our body. We'll bring those knees into our chest. Roll up into our leg. And then rock over onto one side. Gently help ourselves up to seated. Take a moment or two to check in with how we are feeling after our practice. Inhale, lifting our hands up to the sky, bringing them together at the top, and exhaling them down to our hearts with a purpose. And we are given about 86,400 seconds to use today. Please make sure you take at least one or two of those to say thank you to yourself and to others. I wish you all a very, very happy and sunshiny day. The light in the divine in me recognizes and respects the light and the divine in each of you. And when we are together, whether physically or virtually, we are one. Namaste.